The most fascinating man in media is Pat McAfee, and it has nothing to do with the content of his show. In fact, I haven't watched his show of late. I'm doing a radio show in Indianapolis between noon and 3, and frankly, he's doing his show between noon and 3. So I don't have time to watch, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. That's not what makes him interesting. What makes McAfee interesting is that he is carving his own path, and he's very loud about it. Let me give you a little background. When guys go to ESPN, you kind of got to genuflect to Building 4. About, 4 or 5 floors up is all the HMFICs. Head Mother Hubbard's in charge, baby. That's right. The Norby Williamsons of the world, the Stephanie Druleys of the world, all the people who have the big stock options live in Building 4, 4th floor. I don't think it's 7th floor, but anyway. Those are the people that run the joint, but it's really changed a little bit, hasn't it? It changed with Stephen A. Smith getting himself ingrained in the, I'm black, you got to have me, I'm good, you got to have me, I get ratings, you got to have me, the whole mix. I'm a social justice warrior, you made me, but now I'm bigger than you think. And then came McAfee, and he's a big umbrella over all of it. I mean, Pat is his own executive producer. Pat has taken on Norby Williamson, one of the most powerful men at ESPN. He has called him a rat, among other things. Well, yesterday on the Dope Smoking Idiot show, which is what I'm going to call it, between two brothers from the NBA that smoke weed and act like they're still cool, and Stephen A. Smith, I don't know. I remember Dungy saying he lived next to Stephen A. Smith, and the guns and the stupid were running rampant. So it's Dumb and Dumber is the show that he was on. But Pat McAfee doubled down on all of it, and I am so here for it. Let's hear from the great one.
Because I'm the executive producer of my show. I report directly to Jimmy and Bob. So I'm not really viewing anybody as, like I saw everybody like Pat calls out his boss. I'm going to boss. What are we, what are we, Jim Pitaro? Are we talking Jimmy Pitaro or Bob Iger? Like, is that who we're talking about? Because those are people that could technically be described as my boss. And like Burke Magnus as well, and I have a great relationship with him. But I think even Burke would say we have a good like we are talking like this as opposed to like this. And so that was just a warning shot to, I thought, a person that was, at the same, which is hilarious because he's the former president of the place. I guess a lot of people had a lot of fear of him. I did not. Right. I do not have, that guy left me sitting in his office for 45 minutes, no-showed me when I was supposed to have a meeting with him, right? When 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever.
No-showed you.
No-showed, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
you remember that?
What's that?
And you remember that?
This thing's a elephant brain, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah. I am. Yeah, I got everybody's. Yeah. And he also banned all my friends from coming on my show. So really? there was a ban of ESPN talent on my show on YouTube that came directly from him, which so much so that I started a hashtag ESPN stinks the day that everybody got banned from my show. So lucky to be here, we get access, and then immediately it's like, this guy sucks. This guy's ruining ESPN. And it's not coming from people outside ESPN. It was coming from people within ESPN. And I did not expect that at all. So I immediately okay, I'm in war. Like if that's what we're doing, we're in war. And then once you start learning about going behind scenes, things that are being said to people, things that are being leaked, the timing in which they're being leaked, it's like, oh, they're trying to kill me. Like they're trying to make our show impossible to advertise with. They're trying to make sure people don't watch our show. Like, as I started learning that, I'm like, all right, well, that's not going to, I don't know how this has gone in the past with other people.
It ain't going here.
But yeah, this particular white trash kid from Pittsburgh, like, hey, Suits, this is not.
I like it. I do. Hey, I got to tell you, you got to understand how different that is at ESPN. See, ESPN right now holds the layoffs over the heads of employees, and they have for a long time. Like back when I was at ESPN, they came to everybody, said, hey, we need everybody to take a 10% cut. And you're sitting there going, well, if I don't take a 10% cut, I know there's layoffs coming. So everybody take a 10% cut, or at least most of us did. I wish looking back now I really hadn't, but I did. But long story short, McAfee isn't involved in that. You want to lay him off, he'll just go back to his old deal. But the truth of the matter is McAfee needs to be a little bit careful. And I'm a friend of Pat's, kind of. And I think he needs to be a little bit careful because, frankly, he's very popular now. And he's very good now. And he'll maintain that, I would think. But, man, things can come crashing down. Isaiah Thomas famously said, be nice to the people as you're climbing your way up because invariably as you're coming down, you're going to run into those same people. Now, hey, look, maybe Pat's exempt from that. Maybe Pat's immune to that. Seems like he is because he's become his own boss. But if Pat would ask me, and I don't think he should, he's got his own thing, he's got his own deal going, I'd tread a little bit lightly. I would try not to get caught up. Look, you're a white dude. You want real here? You're a white dude. You're sitting with two ex-NBA brothers. You're feeling like, hey, I'm getting down with these guys, right? So you get a little loose. I get it. But I would just say, man, just tread a little bit carefully because you never know what's around the next corner. The things for Pat around the next corner have been great because Pat is great, because Pat is smarter than anybody in the media. Pat has more balls than anybody in the media. Pat has more money. I'm not going to say than anybody in the media, but he made a lot of money in a lot of different ways before he ever went to Indiana or before he ever went to ESPN. But you got to be careful to a certain degree. You can keep calling out your boss. You can keep calling out Norby Williamson, but Norby Williamson, Jimmy Patero, and Bob Iger are friends, longtime friends. Norby Williamson was the president. I'm guessing he and Iger have a great relationship. You just got to be a little bit careful. And Norby Williamson isn't a bad guy. Norby Williamson isn't a good guy. When I left ESPN, Norby called me, and he's like, hey, man, hate to see you go. I said, yeah, well, you know what? You know the deal. I actually had to do this once with Norby Williamson. I might as well tell the story now. They told us about tweeting. So Dane Fife and one of his buddies, Brad Clapper, we were going back and forth on tweets about a game or something. And I said, stop it, Clapper. You are Fife's DSB. Richard sucking boy. Okay? All right? So I didn't say what it was. I just said DSB. I'm in Columbus getting ready for the Michigan-Ohio State game. I think that was the game. I get a call from Lee Fitting, who's a friend. Lee Fitting was just under Williamson. Hey, Dan, we got a problem. I go, what are you talking about? No problem. Yeah, your tweet the other night, DSB, what's that stand for? And I'm like, I started lying. I forget what I told Fitting, but I'm lying through my teeth, right? I am lying like hell. Fitting ain't necessarily buying it. Hell, I ain't necessarily buying it. But I thought to myself, I don't give a rat's ass whether they buy it or not. I just want to get through this and do the game. Next thing you know, the conversation continues. My man tells me, you got to call Norby. I'm like, what, are you crazy? I got a game in an hour. I called Norby. Got to call Norby because of a tweet that said DSB. It didn't say the word. It said DSB. I get on the phone with Norby. Hey, Norby, what's the problem, man? Well, you know, we have this policy. I'm like, okay. What's that tweet? I go, it stands for something, something, something. It's between me, a former player at Indiana, and his buddy. And I thought to myself, man, you guys are out of your mind. I actually thought to myself, are you guys trying to get me the hell out of here? Turned out that wasn't the case. But that's the thing at ESPN. See, what McAfee would have done was say, yeah, I ain't telling you nothing. Screw you. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because I was a contracted employee. McAfee's the executive producer. And McAfee is smarter than anybody. And this is a lesson in business. Don't be Norby Williamson and cede all the control to an employee. Don't be Jimmy Patero and cede all the employee or all of the control to an employee. The truth of the matter is, if you want the truth, you really want the truth, and this is the way I think. Pat doesn't think this way. ESPN could tomorrow say, hey, Pat, you're done. we're going to put Sports Center on. Hey, Pat, you're done. Go out and find somebody else to do College Game Day, and guess what's going to happen? ESPN will be just fine. That's in the back of my mind if I were Pat. But good for Pat. He don't think that way. Great for Pat. He don't think that way. But tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that on the television from noon to 3, that Pat or any show would make a bigger difference between that and Sports Center. Of course it would. Of course it would. People have watched Sports Center for years. You tell me, Game Day, you put on, I don't even know who put on Amanda, what's her name? Amanda something, the hot girl. Put her on. Look, we don't watch. Are you crazy? Get rid of some of the baggage, tighten the show up, and you're fine. That's how I look at it.